really happy to be here at Center for Fiction. I love it. I love Dawn. I'm happy to be reading with Beth, too. I'm going to read a story called Third Cycle. And there's nothing you need to know except for that early on there's a phrase called the B word, and what it is will become clear during the story. So don't worry if you don't feel clear at the beginning. Third cycle. What it all means now, here, at this table, under the green awning, is that neither woman can drink the wine that the impossibly boyish waiter offers, cheering, "Go on, ladies, go wild, one glass, it's spring." What it also means is that both women have sworn not to mention the B word. But that word keeps coming up and passing by on the street in prams, pushed by unachievably young women, barely out of diapers themselves, or by women just the right age, effortless and a bit established in their careers, or the word rolls by, pushed by bulky women hired to push imported prams, and all the women look smug. All of them look so fucking smug, the two women agree, like they never had a complication with anything in their goddamn lives. "I could use being someone else today," says one of the women. "You call me Polly and I've got to be happier than who I am," the other woman says, squeezing her arm. "Polly? Right, that's perfect. You're a perky Polly and I'll be Susie," says the new Susie. "Just water?" repeats the waiter. "Are you sure?" Yeah, Polly and Susie say practically in unison suddenly. Disappointed not for themselves, though. It would be wonderful, just great to have a midday glass of wine on the first warm eating outside day of the year. It being, of course, exactly what the women want, and never more than right now when God knows they could use a little old-fashioned, slightly drunk feeling. But disappointed for the waiter, that handsome candy of a boy. They're especially disappointed that in his eagerness to give them pleasure, they've denied him the opportunity to provide a good time, and it makes the two women sorry, so sorry, as if he were their clumsy, disappointed first lover. They're really trying to have a good time, acting a little tipsy, even angling recklessly toward the sun, though both women know that especially now they're sensitive, but what the fuck, they agree, if they have no apparent heirs, they might as well look fabulous and die young. They've made promises. They've promised not to compare treatments or new measures or the terrible percentages, those absolutely unimaginable shrinking percentages, that tiny, tiny positive number they've had to imagine squeezing their bloated selves into, knowing the impossible odds of either, let alone both women fitting in. And what exactly are the percentages? They can't either of them remember a quarter, 0.5%, or is that with no treatments? No, this is all off limits. And forget about oranges, though how can they forget Polly and Susie? They trade orange stories. "I think I'm feeling really good, Susie, really," says Polly. "Really?" says Susie. "Then can we swap names?" How can they not talk oranges? Polly saying it hadn't been too encouraging at all, practicing on the orange, seeing the way she had to poke and jab at it, like the peel was some kind of elephant hide, poking, probing, till she had stabbed an actual hole in the piece of fruit before she got the needle in. "Forget it," she says. When it was time for her own pebbled skin, she was up at the clinic where there was someone who got paid to poke a bunch of scaredy cats. "You should have called me," boasts Susie, happy to have something to boast about. "I was a killer with that needle. I'd have been happy to do you." Enough. Enough needles, enough drugs, no drugs. They swear they won't talk about drugs, the D word, unless, says Susie, unless we're talking about some bliss we can get off a simple fucking dealer. But here, loose-hipped and friendly, is that waiter again saying, "There's some awesome specials you ladies might like." They don't like that, ladies, the way he says ladies, like they're so far away from him, ladies in another world, untouchable, quaint creatures. Here's that waiter saying, "What about an awesome salsa, a rocking tapenade?" And of course, there's always the obligatory ladies' grilled chicken. "So what'll it be?" says the waiter, bouncing in his own wake. "We want fresh, viable eggs," says Polly. "Eggs, eggs, more eggs," they shriek. "Lots of them." And both of them are laughing now, unladylike, practically snorting water at the waiter. They squeal cautions at him like, "Just tell the cook not to scramble them, and use a bowl and not a petri dish." And the waiter laughs along, though God knows at what the two women say after he scampers off, and they double over, laughing, losing it again, when Susie catches her breath to squeal, "At the sorry barnyard sight of us, my dear." Okay, no D words. But here's a point of information. And information is, after all, what the women hope will help. Like tube information, tube statistics. Like statistics that show that the tube is a better place, maybe the best place for a formal introduction. One woman knows a woman who knows a woman who went to a clinic where they made women eat dirt. And who's to say meditation, visualization, even a little chanting might not help? "Let's talk about fucking," says Susie in a quiet, serious voice. "Oh, that's not part of any procedure," says Polly. "No, I mean the old kind," Susie says, a little seriously. "Please, I need to talk about that." But Polly looks sad and says, "I'm tired all the time just from thinking." Then the B word comes in closer. It wheels up to the next table in a hooded blue pram, and a woman wearing matching blue sits and locks her leg around the pram like it might wheel away of its own accord. It occurs silently to both of them that the blue woman has done certain things right in her life that these women have not done right. It occurs silently to both of them that the blue woman's presence is an insult. It occurs to both of them that a woman might go out shopping for a pram, dress it up, outfit it with sweet checkered bumpers, and even a cloth diaper dress for swabbing up spittle, that a woman might take a pram to a restaurant on a spring day, order a lemon iced tea, and sit for hours cooing and fussing into a perfect empty pram. But this blue woman reaches in and lifts out an actual blue-capped baby, saying, "Here we are, here we are, here we are." Now the waiter's back, all chummy and chipper, dipping this way with his fruit platter and leaning across the table, setting the lunch chicken down. "Your eggs," he says with a wink. The women watch him walk off. He stands with a group of other waiters, and they hear him still chirping, leaning in close to the young waitress, who laughs and pokes his side with a fork. "There was a time I'd have had that waiter before he was done with the shift," says Susie. "Did you?" says Polly, as if suddenly realizing she's known nothing of her friend's life. "Trust me, worse." "So tell me," says Polly, but she looks down at her chicken and picks at the striped grilled flesh. "Well, once I made a man," Susie begins, but Polly waves her hand and says, "No B word, no D word, no M or F word." "What's left?" "Lunch." "Oh," says Susie, wiping a bread crust around her plate. "That's easy. I'm just hungry all the time." The blue woman at the next table eats and talks to the pram. "Sleep now," she says, her leg locked around the pram, jiggling the wheels so the blue hood bounces. "That's a sweetie. That's a baby letting me have my lunch." "I don't feel very Polly-ish anymore," says Polly. "Well, if you think of the alternative," Susie says, "you might try a little harder, spooning up a heap of a whipped thing." There's no B word, but here's the blue woman trying to fit that red-faced B on her breast and unsweetly saying, "You couldn't let me just have my lunch first, could you?" "I'll hold her," bursts Polly, suddenly reaching out beyond her table and touching the blue woman's arm. "Call me Polly." "No," says the blue woman, drawing back. "I mean, I'm sorry if we're disturbing your lunch." "Hardly," says Polly. "I know how hard it can be." "That's nice of you," says the blue woman. The baby is bleating, a frantic, gulpy bleat of a cry. "I could help," says Polly, and holds out her hands in an open manner. The blue woman is reluctant. Why shouldn't she be? A stranger, she's embarrassed, can't calm her own child, can't get her own baby to shut up. "But really, it's too much. I shouldn't," she says, handing the bundle of the baby over. Perfectly fine, Polly takes the baby, who's arching this way, that, a wriggle of complaint. "I'm used to this." Polly watches the blue woman begin to eat. Susie watches Polly holding the baby up high on her shoulder, bouncing it too hard, Susie thinks. And the baby's neck, should it be let to wobble like that? Susie reaches out her hand to guard the neck, and she touches the bonnet, which is scratchier than she thinks is right for a baby's bonnet. Polly yanks the baby in closer. The blue woman is eating, making almost grunting sounds. "Excuse me," says the woman. You'll think I'm exaggerating, but it's the first meal that's had any taste since I had this baby. How can I thank you?" The baby scooches up on Polly's shoulder. Polly twists her head towards the little baby's legs, her mouth munching up a wriggling leg. "Yummy, yummy, yummy," she says, kissing the leg. Susie reaches to take the baby away from Polly, which she does with a firm hand, though the baby's head flops before she can curl around it, resting it down in her lap. The baby is plump, with full plum cheeks. "Is this delicious or what?" Susie says, leaning over the baby, making smoochy nibble kisses. "I could eat this one up," says Susie. "I could eat her right up." And it looks to Polly like Susie might eat the baby right up, the way she opens her mouth over the chubby fingers. "I mean it, food has never tasted this good," says the blue woman. "Can I buy you another dessert or something?" "We'll just keep it," Susie says, and Polly smiles. "Yes," says Polly, "fair trade." The blue woman is eating with her face practically right down in her plate. She doesn't even look up when she asks, "How many do you have? You're both so easy at it. Yours are out of the house?" "None in the house," says Polly, "but we're ready. We're ready to have more." "That's brave," laughs the blue woman, her mouth full of food. "I can't manage this one." "It works out, trust me," says Polly. "God, I hope so," the blue woman says, and puts down her fork. "I'll take over now. I better before you think I'm a total misfit." "No," Susie snaps, pulling the baby against her chest. Polly smiles. "No, it's fine. I'm done with my lunch," says the blue woman, folding her napkin. Polly and Susie clutch in. They narrow so close the baby disappears. "Thanks so much for the help, but the baby needs to eat a bit," says the blue woman, and she opens her hands towards the women. "We'll feed it," Polly says through her smile. "Not a problem," says Susie. "No, I need my baby now," says the blue woman, her hands pushed down in Susie's lap, wrestling the bonneted thing free. "What kind of mother pulls her own child like that?" squeals Polly, and Susie stands shouting over and over something that the waiter thinks is, "No, I need it," so that he jumps from where he's been clowning around, braiding his hair together with the two waitresses, to go see exactly what this ranting nut of the customer needs. He skids up to the table, pleading, "Ladies, I beg of you, is there a problem?" And now it's the blue woman's turn. Now she is efficient, unbuttoning her blouse, but doing so very slowly, so the two women and the waiter all stop, riveted as the blue shirt yields under her fingers, and then the white unhooked stretch of brassiere, and then the creamy swell of skin teased and insisted forth. But a sudden wind so sudden, this is, after all, just the beginning of spring, gusts under the green awning so it presses up in a furious swollen bulge. The waitresses shimmy close to one another. Maybe this weather should be enough of a problem to stop all this foolishness, an antic wind to disrupt the first spring out-of-doors lunch. No, it must be even more extreme. Then torrents of water, plagues of frogs interrupting traffic, vermin wreaking havoc on sidewalk and fruit vendors. Of course, slaying of the firstborn has been, if not mentioned, already considered. But now nothing will stop the blue woman. She surprises herself, quite amazed, as though she were some other woman entirely, and in this other life out pops a full breast, all the way into a fuller view than is needed to lift its veined weight, to urge the little rooting mouth to fix on the wide dark nipple. In this life, the baby latches on too tightly, and the blue woman cringes and pulls herself free. A spray of milk spits against the baby's stunned face. She smiles greedily at the two women when the baby closes back on her breast. "Hey, let me in," says the waiter, rushing to knit himself in with the waitresses. And out there on the crowded lunchtime street, at least one of the women passing is in her third cycle. One remembers a dream with crows. One spots. One ferns. One argues with her long-dead mother. One dilates. Some release multiple buds. One feels a kick. Some bleed. One flashes. One is not ready. Many have just finished. Ready or not, it is onward and onward to desk and to laboratory and home and conference call and bank and shop. Not one, but all waits to see if she can.
novel. It's called Stop Here, and it's about people who work at a diner and their lives. Basically, the novel is about the emotional rewards of struggle, about deep friendship, and about parents and children. And the section that I'm going to read is about Nick, Ava, and Glory. Nick is the guy in the kitchen, and Ava is one of the waitresses that he likes. And Glory is his 18-year-old daughter. He's a widower. His wife had died 4 years before. He's also a vet. He opens his eyes. The room is hot, his mouth dry. A dreamless sleep, thank God. Hoisting himself off the bed, he stares at his feet, but remembering depresses him. The old wall clock reads 6:20. Yesterday, he conked out for 2 or 3 hours. Today, 10. His whole life lacks regulation. Glory's in the kitchen, noisily preparing dinner. The girl cannot cook, but whatever she serves, he eats. After a shower, he pads to the kitchen, the table set for 2. Glory seems nervous, excited even, as if she can barely contain news. What is it, he asks. She studies him for a second. Let's eat first. Tension grips his body. I don't think so. The group I told you about, the one I spent the afternoon with, they're amazing. They're part of an organization that's global. People from lots of different countries go together to become witnesses for peace in the Middle East. It's a way to stop the killing and the torture, to show the rest of the world all the evils that are going on so we can eventually stop them. She's nearly breathless, her eyes shining. Out of the question, Glory. Dad, I don't need your permission. I thought I'd have your approval. You believe in peace. I'm not sacrificing you for it. I'm not going to die. Honestly, Dad. She gestures impatiently. I can't process this now, he says. His hand flies up to swat it away. The colors of a migraine seem close. Her light blue eyes take him in. Her translucent skin tight around that tiny nose. Her rosebud mouth. She's barefoot in jeans and a t-shirt. Her costume of the month. But there's nothing petite about her broad shoulders, her sturdy body, as solid and shapely as her mother's ever was. Later then, her tone upbeat, she's handling him. After a 1-2 hurry-up dinner of pass-the-salt talk, he drives to the beach, sits in the parking lot, a blanket of darkness about to fall. Even if he demands Glory not go, she'll do what she thinks is right. It's how kids her age navigate the world, impulsively. It's his fault and his wife's too. They brought her up to believe everything is possible. Glory standing in some no man's land between tanks. It's insane, suicidal, shit. A cluster of young drinkers saunter by, beer cans in hand. Their voices compete with the buzz in his head. He pulls out his cell phone. Ava, it's Nick. I'm tending a headache. Can you cover till I get there? Sure, you take it easy. Her voice curious but restrained. He could ask what she'd do in his shoes, but hangs up instead. Her input might increase his anxiety, and he doesn't have any pills for that. He inhales sharply, warns himself not to drive fast. Useless. It's late. But Glory is staring at the computer like it has the last word. Something in him wants to smash the screen. Hi, sweets, he says. We should settle the deal now. Otherwise, it's farewell to sleep and work and sanity. Okay. She presses a few buttons, and the screen is back to saving stars. Have a seat, Dad, you're looming. He sits on the bed. She rolls her desk chair around to face him. Only one lamp is on, and the dresser fan whirs annoyingly. It's been hot since the last snow melted. He offered her a small AC, but she said it would pollute the air. I'm not going to say witness for whatever is a bad thing, except there's so much turmoil in that part of the world. But Dad, wait, Glory. She leans back, stretches out her long legs. Your values are no different than mine or your mother's, but neither of us would put ourselves in jeopardy. But Dad, there are safer ways to protest. In the chaos of Gaza, the West Bank, or wherever the fuck, you'll be an ant, a tiny bump, an annoyance, and nothing more. Her expression closes down. Her eyes lower. Her mouth tightens. Look, Dad, I'm going. I need you not to worry. It's 3 months. I'll email as often as I can. He begins pacing, wonders if he should threaten her. But how? Glory, you just met these guys. I'm sure they're sincere, but Christ, who the hell are they? I mean, what makes them witnesses? And the money, where's it coming from? Rich people, older people, people who agree with us but can't participate physically? Wonderful. They remain in their cream-colored houses while you sleep in the sand? Dad, please, stop pacing. You're not in an emergency room. I need to be involved with something bigger than me, she explains as if he were the child. I don't want you going, he says. He's trying to keep the volume down. Dad, even if I chose this for pleasure or out of curiosity, I don't want you going. He'll never budge. It's my life, my time to do such things. He stares at his daughter, at the band of freckles crossing her forehead, the clarity of her eyes, the strong jaw, the length of her fingers, and realizes he's memorizing her. In the silence of her room, the computer, this is a few weeks later, in the silence of the room, the computer stands as a gateway to the rest of his life. Her messages were coming 2 a day, 1 every 2 days, once a 3-day interval. But it's been 6 days. Jesus, God, crap. How's he supposed to survive that? Rereading previous emails, which he never deletes, the information is lodged in his brain. She arrived, she's fine, it's too hot, she needs another couple of pairs of shorts, don't send them, no real address. She's bunking in a camp-like situation, electricity on and off. The beauty can feel like an insult, clay-colored dunes, sky so blue it hurts her eyes, stars so bright they light up the night. The misery, the poverty, the kids are killing her, hopeless, depressed by age 8. Her last email bragged she could say words in Arabic, some in Hebrew. Tan, Dad, she wrote. I'm so tan. It's amazing. He has to get out. In the car in front of Ava's house, he tries to talk himself out of what he's about to do. Fails. He rings the bell with short staccato stabs. She opens the door, a queen in a purple robe. I'm freaking out, Ava. She leads him to the living room, where the furniture looks almost as old as his, and he thinks to console her with this observation, but finds himself unable to speak. She's pushing something that smells like whiskey under his nose. Should he drink or sniff? He drinks. What happened? She stands, arms crossed, wavy hair falling past her delicate shoulders, her light eyes weary but concerned. I guess I could go to the State Department, except they'd probably arrest me. It's a lot of money to fly over, and I don't even know where she is exactly. Ava, it's stupid of me to barge in like this, but we're friends, right? She sits beside him, her clean, soapy scent instantly calming. If something bad happened, Nick, you'd be contacted. You're next of kin. She sounds certain, except his stories don't have happy endings. She was mailing, so what changed? The thing is, Glory's never on the same computer. If I'm at the machine, I reply instantly. I told her I have to hear from her. Children, she sighs. Have you slept? Couple hours. I should go home, but I'm too wrecked to drive. Is that true? Does she believe him? Her face reveals nothing. Do you want the couch for a while? He wants to close his hand around her long, thin fingers. Sure, but to his surprise, he follows his body to her bedroom. He takes in the yellow daisy wallpaper, the yellow lampshades, sunshine in the dark. A portrait of her dead husband is on the wall, the face gigantic. He recognizes the R&R quality, charcoal too quickly in some godforsaken place, and wants to ask if that's how her husband really looked, but decides not to. The bed is queen size, the pillows numerous, waiting. He slips out of his shoes, turns down the yellow and green flowered cover. He stretches out. He's lost it. When she slides in beside him, he remembers hearing about men so exhausted they begin dreaming before their eyes close. But once more, he inhales the sweet scent of her. "Who are you?" he says. "Why do you care?" Or something along those lines. "Who says I care? You're suffering." "It's a mother's thing," he says. "You're older than me. I can't be your mother." "So?" "It's probably a mistake, but I want to be adventurous a little." He palms the cool smoothness of her cheek. "You're wonderful," hauntingly, but a weariness he doesn't want shoots lead through his body. "I can't believe this," he mumbles, not that she wouldn't notice his lip prick. He strokes her hair. The silky strands tangle between his fingers. Then he subsides like a ship in harbor. Opening his eyes at an unfamiliar ceiling, the shades drawn, he remembers. Is he mortified or contrite? She's not beside him. Should he call her name? Her husband stares at him without affection. He walks into the living room. The TV is on, the volume low. She's dressed in a long black skirt, silky, with a white blouse open deep at the neck. "Drink before dinner?" she asks. "Dinner? It's nearly 6. You're kidding." "No," she says so seriously he's embarrassed. "Where's your son?" "Helping Dina next door. I told him you collapsed and why. He offered to look online and see what he could find out about Witness for Peace." "You're extraordinary." He drops on the couch beside her, slides an arm around her slim shoulders, dips his chin in her soft hair, done up in some fancy knot. His fingers wander inside her blouse, find her velvety breast. With the heat of her throat against his lips, he cradles her head, maneuvers her legs onto the couch. She curls her body to make room for his. He thinks to say a few lovely words, but her eyes are closed, her limbs wrapping his. He enters a land where only distraction and satisfaction exist.